Hello, my friends. Welcome back to Coffee with Mia. Grab your coffee or your favorite beverage, settle in just for a minute, and let's talk about something that some people don't recognize when it's happening. Grief. Now, just stay with me for a minute, because grief is not only about losing a person. You can grieve a marriage, you can grieve a friendship, you can grieve your health. You can grieve a diagnosis. You can grieve a job. You can grieve your youth. You can even grieve a life that you thought you were going to have. And you know what? Here's what I learned. A lot of people walk around thinking that they're stuck. They think they're unmotivated. They think they're lazy. They think that something's wrong with them. But sometimes they're not stuck at all. Sometimes they're grieving. The truth is, every major life change comes with some form of loss. And loss creates grief, even when the change is necessary, even when the change is good, and even when you saw it coming. Years ago, psychiatrist Elizabeth Kubler-Ross introduced what became known as the 5 stages of grief. Many people have heard of them, but many people think that they only apply when a person dies. They don't. The stages can show up anytime life changes in a way we didn't choose. The first stage is denial. This is the part where we tell ourselves that this can't be happening. Maybe the diagnosis isn't serious. Maybe the relationship isn't really over. Maybe things will go back to the way they were. Now, denial isn't weakness. It's our mind's way of protecting us until we are ready to face reality. Then comes anger. And this is where a lot of people get stuck. You ask yourself, why me? Why now? Why did this happen? Why didn't things work out differently? Anger is often grief wearing a different outfit. Sometimes it's easier to get angry than it is to feel hurt. Then comes the next stage, bargaining. This is where we negotiate and we tell ourselves, well, if I try harder, maybe if I change, or if I pray more, or you tell yourself, maybe if I've done things differently. We start replaying the past in our minds, looking for a different ending. But unfortunately, life doesn't give us refunds for decisions that are already made. After that comes depression. Not necessarily clinical depression, but it's the sadness that comes when reality finally sets in. The realization that life may never look the way that we thought it would. This is the stage where many people feel exhausted. Not because they're weak, because carrying disappointment is heavy. And finally comes the last stage, acceptance. Now, let me tell you what acceptance is not. Acceptance is not telling yourself that you're happy it happened. Acceptance is not saying that it was fair. Acceptance is not saying that you wanted it. Acceptance is simply saying, this is where I am. This is what happened, and now I have to decide how I'm going to move forward. Acceptance is where healing begins. Not because the pain disappears, but because the fight against reality ends. The one thing that I've learned is that grief is not a straight line. You don't move through the stages once and then you're done. Sometimes you're accepting. Sometimes you're angry. Sometimes you're bargaining all over again. And that's normal. Healing is messy. Growth is messy. Being human is messy. So, if you've been feeling stuck lately, I want you to ask yourself a question. Am I really stuck, or am I grieving something? Maybe you're grieving a chapter that ended. Maybe you're grieving a dream that changed. Maybe you're grieving a version of yourself that no longer exists. And if that's the case, give yourself some grace. You don't have to have everything figured out today. You don't have to rush the process. You don't have to pretend you're okay when you're not. Just keep moving forward. One step, one day, one choice at a time. Because sometimes you're not stuck. You're grieving. And once you understand the difference, everything starts making a little bit more sense. As always, thank you for spending your time with me. Until next time, always remember, life is not easy, but it's worth it, and so are you.